Alright, to get started, I'm going to exfoliate my face and my lips. For my face, I'm using Sonia Roselli Beauty's Sex Appeal Exfoliating Spray. It's an enzyme and AHA acid gommage style exfoliant. So I'm just spraying that onto my hands and working it into my skin. I'm going to pay a lot of attention to my nose area because I know that normally it's difficult for me to exfoliate because of my nose rings, and I don't want anything looking crusty there. So I'm just going to go over all of my face, make sure everything is nice and smooth, and then I'm going to go in with the By Terry Rose Lip Scrub. And I'm going to do that all over my lips, so that way I can remove both the exfoliants together at the same time and makes cleanup a little bit. As an esthetician, I firmly believe in good in-depth skincare, so I start off all of my clients with these same steps. It just ensures that we get a more accurate color match, that the skin prep, the rest of the moisturizers absorb fully, and that the makeup goes on a lot smoother. Normally, I don't use hot towels on myself to remove this, but I was originally actually supposed to have models earlier. Scheduling conflicts occurred, they couldn't come, so I figured why waste the hot towel. But normally, hot towels are reserved for my clients to remove the sex appeal, but I had it, so I did it. Otherwise, I would just, on myself, use makeup removing wipes. Those work just as well. So now I'm going in, also, this is also by Sonia Roselli Beauty. I'm going in with the Water Elixir, and I'm just going to tap that into my skin till it's, mostly absorbed, and then work the rest in by massaging it. Again, focusing on the nose and any areas I know are dry. And now I'm going in with, again, by SRB, this is the water oil. These products are all very, very hydrating, and I like to layer them because they absorb different ways, and they all work really well together, and they work really well with the foundations that I'm using too. So for lips, I'm going in with the Korres lip butter. I like to apply this relatively thickly, and I'll let it sit in and absorb while I'm doing the rest of the makeup. So although I prefer the Too Faced Shadow Insurance, I don't know where mine is, so I'm going to use the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I'm going to put this on top of my lid, underneath, and also up to the eyebrow. So next I'm going to go in with the Danessa Myricks Vision Cream. This is the concealer in W1, I believe. I'm just going to go with a very thin layer of this on the eyelid. It's very thick and full coverage, so I don't want to, really pack that on. I don't want it to crease, and I really don't think you would need to put that much concealer on when you're just priming the lid. So after that, I'm going to go in with these are custom palettes that I made of all Viseart shadows, as well as the Editorial Brights. So I'm going in with that top warm neutral color to set the concealer on the eyelid. And next I'm going in with that really, really beautiful like brick orange color. And I'm going to put that kind of in the crease and on, I guess, the outer third of my lid, I would describe that. So I'm going to buff that in to the crease and kind of put that down as my real first color. Do this to both eyes. It's a very beautiful color, and these shadows are just, they're so worth the money. They're just amazing. They blend out so nicely. So now I'm going to go in after that with the bright neon orange from the Editorial Mattes palette. I wanted to put the other color down first because this orange is very red. I mean, it's a neon and it's very red once you have it on the lid. So I kind of wanted to tone it down a little bit. So I'm just kind of building it now onto the other color that I laid down. I'm bringing it a little bit further in too. Now I'm going in with the second to right color that you see in the palette here. It's very light, pale, orangey tone. I'm just going to use this to buff out the edges so that way there's a more of a seamless transition back to my natural skin tone and it's not too harsh. Now I'm going to take a flat brush. I'm going to go in with that beautiful deep purple that you see in the bottom second to the left of the palette. It's my first time using this color, and you can see right now I'm like completely blown away by it. It went on so nicely. But I'm just going to put this just on a C shape onto the mobile lid, and I'm going to buff out the edges ever so slightly with the tip of the brush. I don't want to bring it up too high into the crease. I'm not talking to myself, by the way. There's a tiny little 20-pound person that's sitting beside me. It's my son Wolf. He's kind of just chilling out in the bouncy chair. You'll hear him later on in the video. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just layering the product, softly buffing out the edges. Careful not to bring it up too high because I don't want to darken the look so much already. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth and doing that. Now I'm going to go in with a smaller little fluffy brush, and I'm just going to blend out the edges without any product before going in with that bottom right, that bottom left color. It's a very pretty bright red, and I'm going to put that into the crease kind of right between the purple and the orange. I figured it would be the perfect transition color because it'll just, it'll go with either of the colors and kind of create a new one pretty nicely. Yeah, that squeaking that you hear is him in his little bouncy chair and going absolutely crazy. And now I accidentally cut the footage of the jar for this, but I'm going in with the Sony Rosella Beauty Water Balm, which is a little bit on the tip of my, on my Q-tip, and I'm using that to clean up any of the fallout. I like to do that because it's very gentle. It's also really effective at removing makeup, and it's a moisturizer. So it's going to hydrate my under eyes really well in preparation for the upcoming makeup. So yeah, I'm just going to, keep removing any excess that I don't want, whether that's right above the shadow because I brought it up a little higher than I originally wanted to, or underneath. And then I'm just going to go in again with that really, really pale color, and then with that pale orange, and then with the regular creamy skin tone color. So it flashed by really, really quickly, but I just went in with a dark shimmery purple shadow that's from a different Viseart palette before going in with now that water balm all over my face. It also acts as a primer, so it's really perfect for that. It's very hydrating and nice. And now this concoction that I'm making on my palette is a combination of the water oil, the liquid highlighter that I like. It's the Becca illuminating highlighter, and Face Atelier foundations. I'm using two different ones. I'm using the color 5 and the color 8 to mix and get my perfect match. I like to really sheer out my foundations. I don't like a heavy look at all. So like I said, I mixed it with the liquid highlighter and I mixed it with the water oil to sheer it out a lot. And on the tops of my cheeks where I have freckles, I'm not even going to put any of the foundation there at all. Just kind of the perimeters of my face and on any breakouts in particular. So again, I'm just going in very lightly with that, building where I want the coverage and buffing it out with that denser, shorter foundation brush. And what I'm going to do next is go in with only the number 8 foundation that I have left on the palette. And I'm going to do that kind of around the perimeters of my face and kind of start the contour, just to use up the color really. It's not dark enough to be as dramatic as I'm looking for. So I'm going to go in with that number 8 first, place it where I want it, buff it out, and then I'm going to go in with just a tiny bit of number 12, the same same foundation, the Face Atelier. And I'm going to do that to contour and then also just give me a little bit of color. You'll see me add it to the tops of my cheekbones, you know, just a tiny bit up on my forehead, just enough to give me some color and some shape and dimension in my face. So again, just applying that, buffing it out, making sure that it's all seamless, that it's pretty even, and that I don't have any patches or anything mixed. So now I'm going to go in with that same concealer that I used to prep my lid earlier, and it is a little bit too bright, so I'm going to mix it with some of the leftover foundation that I had, and I'm only going in with a very minimal amount of this because, as I explained earlier, it's very thick and very full coverage. It can very quickly become too much for the under eye. So I'm going in with just a little bit of that, spreading it out, patting it in. I'm also using it to kind of clean up the shape that you can see, kind of giving myself a little bit more of a wing shape. And this is definitely a concealer that benefits for you to go in with your fingers to pat it out. The warmth of your skin really helps to blend it in. So I'm going to go, you know, just kind of build up where I want. And then I'm going to take whatever's left over, which isn't going to be much, and I'm just going to run it down the center of my nose, my chin, and right in the middle of my forehead. Again, there's barely anything left on the brush, just to give a little bit of brightness though. And now I'm going to go in with that same concealer, the same Becca highlighter, and I'm going to mix that with water oil to sheer it out. And I'm going to put that on the high points of my face and also on the apples of my cheeks. So the apples of my cheeks, the tops of my cheekbones, the center of my nose, above the lip, chin, and right in the center of the forehead. You can skip above the lip if you find that you tend to get really sweaty. Sometimes that area can look weird when it's too super shiny. So I'm just going to go in and set underneath the eyes with the RCMA No Color powder. I'm just going to do just under the under eyes, the nasolabial fold, the nostrils, and my chin. Just because those are the areas where I tend to get oily and where product tends to move on me. I don't want to do too much powder anywhere else because I don't want to take away from what, you know, I have. Now I'm going to take the RCMA blush color wheel. I'm going to take the peachy color to tie into the oranges on my lid. And I'm going to mix that with that same liquid highlight and with the water elixir, because I want to make more of a shimmery liquid highlight. So that way I can build it up. It doesn't become too strong and it's just the exact color that I want it. So I'm going to build it up between my between the brush and blending it in with my fingers too. I don't want it to be too strong. Next, I'm going to go in with that second to the right color, the same one I had done at the top of my crease. I'm going to use that to start underneath the eye. I'm going to kind of bring it almost all the way in, just stopping at the tear duct, before flipping the brush over and going in with that same kind of brick orange color. That one I'm going to keep just a little bit closer to the lash line. You definitely don't have to do this, but I took that same kind of shimmery purple and I just ran it barely along that orange on the lower lid. It didn't really do much, and I didn't want to go in with more of the purple and darken it, so honestly I'd kind of just skip that step. It wasn't really necessary. I'm going to go back to the face now, and I'm going to use that kind of bright, glowy tangerine color. I'm going to put that just very, very lightly, because don't forget we didn't set the cheeks with any kind of powder and I don't want it to stick. So I'm going to go very lightly over the blush with that tangerine color and buff, buff, buff. And I want to kind of make it a little bit pinkier, so I'm going to go in with that pinky color that has a bit of a peach shimmer. I'm going to put that over top. So now I'm going to go in with that I'm tapping right now. That is a Becca bronzer. I'll put the color name down in the box. It's my favorite bronzer, as you can see, because it's almost gone. And I'm going to kind of go lightly over the perimeters of my face and on my cheeks. I know a lot of people into alternative styles don't really wear bronzer, but I enjoy it, so I like to put it on. Next, I'm going to go into the Kat Von D Alchemist highlighter palette, and I'm going to use the purple one that was there in the middle, and I'm going to highlight my cheeks, the bridge of my nose, the top of my lip, kind of all those high points. And when I highlight, I like to kind of create a C shape, so I'm from the tops of my cheekbones right up above the brow. Now I'm going to do my eyebrows. I'm going to use the Anastasia Dip Brow. I think that this is medium brown, but I'm going to have to check. I like to use a really, really small detail brush to do it, create hair-like strokes at the front of the brow, and fill in just enough throughout the rest of it. You're going to see I went in a little bit too much and kind of really messed it up. But it's not the end of the world if you do that. What I do to fix it is I just go in with a clean spoolie and I just blend, 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 and I blend the crap out of it, and that pretty much fixes it. So yeah, this is what I basically, there it is right now, there's the mess up. So I basically just work on my brows for like 5 minutes, just kind of blending, adding it in, and then I'm going to go in with a clear brow gel. And I like to brush my hairs up for a very kind of fluffy, wild, werewolf-esque look. You don't have to do that. It's just what I like to do. You can absolutely brush your brows up and then put them down. I'm going to go in also with a little bit of, before I do the brow gel, I'm going to go in a little bit of the leftover concealer that I had and just kind of clean up underneath the brow a little bit. I don't do a carved out brow, but if that's what you like to do, you can absolutely do that yourself. I just go in with a little bit just underneath before I finish it off. Then I just mixed that original kind of warm flesh tone color with a white shadow, and I use that to set the concealer and highlight under the brow. You can go in with a shimmery highlight if you'd like, but I don't really want to do that for this look, so I'm just going in with the matte colors. And here you can see me now doing the brow gel and kind of sculpting my brows the way that I want them to, look. Magic that you do come true. I want and only you. Yeah. As you can tell, he was getting very excited to see the completed look, but all I did was just curled my lashes, and then I went in with a black mascara. Now I'm going in and putting on false lashes. These are just your basic Demi Wispies by Ardell. So I applied some glue to the strip, let it get a little bit tacky, and then I placed it down. And I like to squeeze it with my fingers to make sure that the fake lashes are really, really secure up against my real lashes, so it blends really well. So I'm just going in with that Thrive Market liner slash highlighting pencil. I'm using that on my waterline and right on the inner corner of my eyes. And now I'm going to go in with a Lime Life lip gloss. This is in the color Peace. I'm just applying that with that same lip brush I used earlier, right on top of the lip balm. And again, I'm going to go in with a little bit of the same highlighter that I used on top of the lip gloss for some more shimmer. And that's when I take off my little headband and I realize that it totally destroyed my hair. Not that I had much of a style in the first place, but yeah, this is me attempting to squish it back down, trying to, you know, reverse what I did. It didn't really work that well, but hey, this is something that I would personally wear out. But even if, you know, it's not something you would, this would still be really fun for maybe like a Halloween party for next month. Yeah, I figured might as well show how to darken it up. If you know, are going somewhere and you want to make it even vampier, you can do that too, pretty easily. Apparently I'm gonna knock over everything on my table, actually, is what I'm gonna do. Okay. I'm gonna go in with a smaller brush and a really dark charcoal. So this footage is going to look a little different than it did before. I apologize about that. I was going to speak through the whole thing, but I realized the squeak on my son's bouncer was probably going to drive everybody crazy, so I'm just going to do voiceover. But for this, I'm going to go in with a really, really dark gray charcoal color. It's not black, but it's almost black. And I'm going to put that right into the crease, as you can see me doing there. I'm going to keep my brush at an angle so it's not totally lying flat against my lid, but it is touching it more than just keeping it straight, which you can see me demonstrating here. So I'm kind of focusing it on like that outer corner, and I'm bringing it in just enough to darken the entire crease without blending it out too much. I don't want it to like take over the look. You can see what I'm doing right now. The nice thing about these shadows, you go in with a little bit, you kind of just keep your brush, you know, control on your brush. It's not going to overtake it. It's not going to go everywhere on you. So I'm going to take that same, you know, that really, really dark charcoal color. I'm going to line it just a little bit underneath the eyes. And that was my cat, who I didn't even realize snuck into the room. Yeah, she knocked over my camera when I wasn't looking. So now I'm going to go in with a little bit more, I just kind of that brown, you know, that bronzer that was in the middle. I'm going to bronze my skin up a little bit more. I know a lot of people who like to do more alternative style makeup don't really like to have a lot of color on the skin, but I personally like a bronze, and I like a lot of blush and a lot of bronzer, so I'm going to do that myself. You know, I don't think there's any rules. You don't have to follow anything, you know, traditionally when you're doing makeup. You know, if you think you're a vampire and you want to be bronze, you can do both. But, you know, just do whatever it is that you're comfortable with. So after I added more of the bronzer, I went in with more of the highlighter as well. And now I'm going to take just like a little cosmetic wedge sponge and one pump of the water elixir. And I'm going to kind of settle that into the sponge and then pounce that all over my face. I like to do this after basically every application, but especially when I'm going in with more powder, and also on people who have more mature skin or more dry skin, because it just takes away any of like that powdery look. It brings more life back into the skin. Everything looks very glowy. It picks up any excess powder. It's just a really great trick to make everything look nice and soft again. Now I'm also going to go in with like a dark berry lip gloss. This is a Maybelline color. I'll have to put it in the description box because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But I'm just going to kind of darken up the lips just a little bit. I am still filming. Whoops!